Okay, it's loading now. Okay. Looks like we are currently streaming live to Facebook. So we will get started here. Thanks everyone for tuning in to the 8th edition of our Facebook Live series sponsored by Verizon. My name is Melissa Zhang. I'm our communications manager. And today, in honor of Women's History Month, we have two amazing women in our handball community who I'm very excited to be talking to today. So first, I'm going to introduce Kim Clarke, who's joining us from Smyrna, Georgia. Kim is a three-time Olympian who competed for Team USA in the 88, 92, and 96 Olympic Games. She first discovered handball when her sister saw an ad in a magazine inviting athletes to try out for the handball program, and her sister signed her up. She currently works for the healthcare insurance provider Anthem as a manager of data and reporting analytics. And Kim was on our national team from 1981 to 1996. So a very long career. Kim, thank you for joining us today.
Hello, it's good to be here.
Awesome. And next we have Julia Taylor, who is joining us all the way from France. Julia has been a part of the national team for the last decade. She's also a member of our Athletes Advisory Council and our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Julia first discovered handball at UNC Chapel Hill. She ended up taking a semester off to attend a handball academy in Aarhus, Denmark, and then also spent 1.5 years in the Auburn University residency program. She's been living in a suburb of Paris, France for the last 6 years and has been playing professionally there with Drevet Handball. She also earned her master's in sociology at the University of Paris Diderot. So Julia's been quite based in France for a while. Thank you for joining us as well today.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So I'm going to stop talking now and let the two of you introduce yourselves. Kim, if you would like to go first, I would love to just hear sort of your journey in handball, how you discovered the sport, what made you decide to commit full time to it, and where it's taken you. So Kim, if you'd like to start, that'd be great.
Okay, so as Melissa was stating that my sister was the one who got me involved. She saw this article in a magazine about the sport and they were recruiting athletes for the junior national team. So I got application in the mail and I'm like, what's this? And my sister, said, oh, that, I sent your name in, because I thought you would be, good for this sport because they were recruiting athletes that played softball and basketball. And so I was 14 years old at the time. So sent the application back in saying, how far do you throw the softball? How fast do you run the 50-yard dash? So sent that back in and got an invitation to try out for the junior national team in Colorado Springs. So went there and made the junior national team. And before, I knew it, we were in Yugoslavia playing in the, junior world championship. So that was quite the experience, just being thrown in the mix. And, some of the players on the team, so this would have been in 1979. So some of the junior players on the team, they were like already on the national team, like Cindy Stinger is one name. She was on this junior team and kind of, the leader of this junior national team. So, that was my first experience. And then from there, the U.S. Olympic Committee hosted national sports festivals. And I was participating in the 1981 National Sports Festival in Syracuse, New York. And that is where the national team coach, saw me play. And he then invited me to join the national team and start training for the 84 Olympics. And then the team was going to be based in Sayreville, New Jersey. So, here I was 16 years old, my, always loved sports, always wanted to compete and, definitely the Olympics were in my dream. So, when I got this opportunity to join the national team and go, play at the, in New Jersey with the national team, I had to convince my parents, because I was living in Muscatine, Iowa, that, hey, can I go to high school in New Jersey and, live in this house and train? And they're like, oh, no way, we're not letting you go. So, it took some convincing for them to let me go, and they did. They were able to trust life and, let me pursue my dream at such a young age. And so moved to New Jersey, moved to the sorority house that we had. And, being the youngster at 16 years old, I was, just, very, you would say, inexperienced or naive. And, it was just, a great, opportunity though for me. And so that was probably my first, I would say, experience with the national team, was that at the young age of 16. And then, from there, I was, unfortunately, I hurt my knee and was not able to participate in the 84 games. So that's kind of where it started. I just carried on from there. I just stayed, got my knee better, and then was, invited back to train for the 88 Olympics. And we trained in Colorado Springs, mostly at the Olympic Training Center there. And then also for the 92 games, trained at the Colorado Springs Olympic Training Center. And then in 96, the national team moved to Atlanta around 1994 to start training there. So that's kind of a high level take of, my involvement with the sport.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. It's super interesting. I didn't realize that you were so young when you started out your national team career. So incredible, and excited to hear more about that later. Julia, would love to hear your story and sort of how you got started.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Melissa, I actually discovered handball at Carolina, the University of North Carolina. I had played, various sports growing up, basketball, softball, ran track as well. And so, I got to Carolina and I was really missing kind of having that competitive, outlet. And I stumbled upon handball sort of by accident. I had an acquaintance who played on the team, and shot her message on Facebook. She was like, yeah, come out, we practice, every Wednesday and Thursday, come check it out. And I had no idea what was going on, honestly. Like it kind of felt like dodgeball a little bit mixed with, I had no idea what I was doing, but I guess I figured it out enough that they invited me to a tournament in West Point that weekend. So I figured, like, why not check it out and spend the weekend up in West Point. And ended up just falling in love with it, like, immediately. It was exhausting. We did 5 games that first day, and I was sore in places that I didn't even know I had muscles, but it really was like love at first sight. And so, I think it was maybe a couple months, maybe the semester after I had started, that USA Team Handball sent some coaches to a tournament to recruit for a junior national team trip to Poland. And I'd only been playing for a couple of months. I didn't even realize that there was a national team or that it was an Olympic sport. So it wasn't necessarily in my goals. But at the end of the tournament, they approached me and they asked me if I would be an alternate for the team. And that was, I guess what sort of opened up the world of possibilities for me for handball. So stayed in touch, didn't end up, being called for that trip, but stayed in touch with a couple different people from USA Team Handball back then. And they actually got me hooked up with the training academy that you mentioned in Denmark. So I took a semester off of school my junior year and just went to this training academy in Denmark. My parents were also a little bit hesitant to, have me stop my studies and go, to this random town and pursue this random sport, but luckily they were supportive. So after that semester in Denmark, went back to Carolina and graduated. The Auburn residency program was just getting started right around, a couple months after I graduated. So moved down to Auburn, spent about a year and a half building up the program and training and whatnot. And I was really pestering Christian over the year and a half to send me, to get me in contact with clubs to play overseas. I'd been wanting to live overseas pretty much my whole life, and I wanted to have a new challenge. So he had a lot of, he's coached in France for many years. He had a lot of contacts here in France. he got me in contact with a couple different clubs in the Paris region. So I trained for a little while with a second division team, and ended up signing with a third division team, Handball, where I played for about 4 seasons. And then just recently, as you mentioned, I've been playing with tryout handball up until quarantine and lockdown and whatnot. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Julia. I feel like both of you have had unbelievable just journeys, and it's really interesting to hear how both of you started out on the junior national team and then slowly advancing towards bigger and better things. So Kim, I was curious about the experience sort of training with the national team. You mentioned the sorority house and then going to Colorado Springs and training. So what did that training process look like? What did practices look like? I'd just be really curious to hear about that sort of dynamic between the team and what those training days looked like for you.
Yeah, sure. So for when we were training in for the '84 Olympics in Sayreville, New Jersey, so we lived in this house. I was 16 years old, and we usually just trained at night because we had to, earn, a lot of them had to. My parents were supporting me financially because I had to go to high school. So, the high school to me seemed like 3 or 4 miles away. I had to walk through the snow and all that good stuff, but it was probably just maybe a mile or two away. And I had to, get up and go to school. But the funny thing about me going to school is, so, a lot of my teammates were older. And so some of their jobs were substitute teaching. So they would be my substitute teachers at my high school. So, every morning I'd kind of wake up to see if anyone got called today to be a substitute teacher, because that meant I could, catch a ride with them and go to school and not have to walk. So, or, be like, oh, Cindy, would, and like, I think Cindy Stinger was a substitute. So, I'd be like, oh, I had Cindy today. She gave me a hall pass and, all this stuff. So that was, very, you would say, a unique situation there. And, and other teammates, they had to have jobs to, help support, them and, pay our rent and all that, everything through, financially. So, but, we would train at night, and that's, always a hard thing about handball is finding a gym, and then not only finding a gym, but finding a gym that allows stickum, because we all like to use stickum. And we were able to do that. And then, I think on the weekends we would go do conditioning training. I remember this one park, I think it was called Cheesequake Park. And, I was probably really never a runner, but I probably developed into a better runner being on the handball team, because I remember Javier, who was our coach at the time, would take us on these interval fartlek type runs through this park, and I'd probably get lost, and I'd probably because everybody else would be so far ahead of me. But anyway, it definitely was high level training, and then we I think trained in Sayreville for a couple years before moving to the training center in Lake Placid. So we spent maybe, 6 months to a year in Lake Placid training there too. So definitely the Olympic training centers do help out, especially for like 88, 92, when we trained there, we would, be able to train twice a day, because we would have, either conditioning or court practice during the morning, and then, court practice at night. And in order to financially support ourselves at the training center, I remember us, having a cleaning service. We would hand out flyers at neighborhoods and say, hey, we'll come clean your house. I remember I also had a stint at Burger King flipping burgers, but you had to do what you had to do then. And also at the Olympic Training Center, it was better because we were able to get free room and board, and have a good meal, and a good place to lay your head down, where you didn't have so much of the worries, financially. So it was really beneficial. And then in '94, they decided to move the national team to Atlanta to help promote the sport before the games. And luckily, the Olympic Job Opportunity Program really was pretty much very established at that point. I think the Olympic Job Opportunity Program probably got started around 88, but by 96, they had, quite a few companies on board. And, I'm kind of hesitant to say this, but so Blue Cross Blue Shield of Georgia hired me as an Olympic Job Opportunity athlete, and I've been with them ever since. They've changed to Anthem, but that's, just, the same company I've been with. I guess I don't like change. I don't know what that means, but anyway, yeah, so a lot of people, when we were training here in Atlanta for 96, we got jobs through the Olympic Job Opportunity Program, and then that helped out tremendously to help us financially.
Wow, yeah. I mean, Kim, it's super eye-opening, I think, to hear about sort of the state of the national team back then and what you had to do really to make it to your dream. So really, really interesting. I'm glad that that program in Atlanta was there and was able to connect you to Blue Cross Blue Shield at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Julia, how about you? Can you talk a bit about the current sort of experience with the national team and obviously the training and practices? I know a lot of the different members of the team are sort of spread out through both the country and in Europe. So yeah, what does it look like today?
Well, honestly, in the however many years that have passed since Kim has been playing, I don't feel like much has changed, and you're talking about having to work at this job and then, run to go to practice afterwards. And I mean, that's 100% the case nowadays. It's, I had the same experience in Auburn. You wake up, you lift, you run to work. I was working at a gym in Auburn, and then you run to practice afterwards. And yeah, you hustle to try and just
Yeah.
practice. So yeah, I mean, in that sense, not a lot has changed. Yeah, just having to really scrap together every penny that we can, and fundraise and find sponsors and whatnot on our end, just to be able to fund our training camps and our tournaments and whatnot. But in terms of practices and whatnot, so Christian Latsoulippe, the national team coach, he is very big in the conditioning. It sounds like Javier was as well. But yeah, I mean, I knew that anytime I had a practice with Christian, whether it was an hour and a half, 2 hours, a walk through practice before a game, we were going to sweat and we were going to come off the court just exhausted, which is great because, we're athletes. We like that. But yeah, there was never a moment of downtime in his practices. Apart from that, we also do a lot of video analysis, which maybe was less prevalent during your era, Kim, but
Yeah.
we would do, I mean, I've been playing with the national team for 10 years now. So the Pan American countries, we kind of all know each other pretty much at this point. You start to get to know your competition and the skills of the teams that you face off against, and you get to know the players and whatnot. But we would do video analysis of our games, of competitors' games, learn their tactics, their style and whatnot. I've probably logged hundreds of hours of video with Christian at this point. And recently, the last couple of years, something that I think is very unique to our team is our emphasis on improving our mental game and just our focus and concentration and visualization. So especially during training camps and competitions, we have team yoga sessions, and they're oftentimes first thing in the morning. So we get up, even before we eat breakfast, we have like a half-hour yoga session. One of my teammates, Jency Rhodes, often leads them if we can pester her enough to lead them. Otherwise, we'll start something on YouTube. But it's just a great way to start the day, to really get in a good mental space, and also for us older players to stretch out a little bit, get all the peaks out. And then a lot of times we'll do, our captain, Sarah Gascon, will lead us in like a short meditation exercise or visualization exercise in the locker room before heading out to warm up. So that, I feel like, has really been transformative these last couple of years in helping us really, work on our mental game and work on our focus and whatnot. And for me personally, it really helps a lot. So yeah, same kind of rigor and discipline in the national team nowadays. We have a ton of fun together. We also like to listen to Whitney Houston in the locker room before the games. Maybe not the best like pump up music, but she's our pump up music. So yeah, a lot of fun, but a lot of work.
Very nice. Very nice. Glad that there's some Whitney Houston thrown into all of the hustle and sweat as well. It's kind of a perfect segue, Julia. You were talking about, how a lot of things are still really tough in terms of just resources and support. I'm sure we could talk for hours on this subject, but I'd love to hear from both of you, some of the challenges that you faced or for Julia faced currently as just a women's athlete and a women's handball player. And for you two, if you could see that sort of grow for the women's national team and improve in certain areas, what aspects of the team do you think could be more supported?
I mean, I can start, because we were talking about this a little before, Julia. You were saying, when you felt you were in your prime, you were playing, you were doing your 6-week training camps, and you were playing games, and to me, that's pretty much, I think, what we're missing here in the U.S. We can practice all we want, we can get the teams together, but the players really need that game experience, because that's how you learn how to win. You learn how to manage the last 2 minutes of the game when you're ahead, or manage the last 2 minutes of the game when you're losing to actually end up winning. But to me, that was always, it's like, man, how do we get more games? How can we become more competitive? Because sometimes athletically you seem right there, but they just have the better countries and teams, they just have more game experience. So like I said, and usually that just comes down, unfortunately, financially, how much money there is in the budget to travel. I did see recently, I think it was on 60 Minutes this past Sunday, this, I don't know, billionaire in St. Louis, and he loves chess. So I think St. Louis might be, I don't know, the world's chess capital of the world. And so he puts all his money into chess. I'm like, oh, why can't we find just that one person, just, or something, just to, kind of have all this money just funnel into, team handball to, to get us what we need. So.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. Not being financially supported, I mean, there's a whole other slew of problems that come of that. Like if you have a residency program, you have to do what Kim and her teammates and my teammates and I did. You have to work. You can't give yourself 100% to your sport, because you're also grinding 40 hours a week at a job alongside of your training. So it's tough to be fully committed and give all of your energy to your sport when you're having to work to feed yourself. I would also say that respect, we're just, as a female athlete in general, men's sport gets a lot more views in general. And I think it's, maybe for handball, it's a little bit different, because the men's and women's games are a lot closer than, maybe in basketball, for example, or I don't know, hockey. I don't actually watch hockey, so I don't really know, but I imagine there's a little bit of a difference. But just being respected as a national team and as athletes, we, especially this group in particular, we've made enormous strides over the last 10 years. We didn't qualify for Pan Am Games in 2015, and then 2019 we were a goal away from medaling. Just having that respect and that recognition for the strides we've made and who we are as athletes, and the fact that we can hang with countries like Cuba, where all their players play professionally in Europe and have been playing their entire lives. And yeah, I think that's just as a woman, as a female athlete, and as a female handball player, that would mean a ton.
And speaking, I guess this being, Women's History Month, is we have come, there's still more great strides we need to make, but when I was playing, we didn't have, the women's NBA or professional soccer, or that there are so many, different avenues as a woman you can go to in sports, how they, with women, coaching now in the men's NBA, and, also, national, NFL football coaches. So, we are making great strides, but yeah, definitely more strides to be made. And, with that, it's, the opportunities, are there, but definitely room for improvement.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And hopefully we'll see some improvements being made as the years continue. But I did want to ask you both, as longtime members of the women's national team, Julia, you just mentioned the incredible performance that you had at the 2019 Pan American Games in Lima. I would just be curious to hear from each of you what one of your favorite memories from your national team experience has been.
I would say probably around like in 87 to 88, we started to really gel as a team and to really be competitive against some of the, you know, top teams in the world. So to me is like that, those tournaments we played in, you know, we actually beat Russia in a friendly game here in the US when they came here to train with us. I also remember, I think it was maybe right before the 88 Olympics, we played, I think it was called the Polar Cup in Norway, and Norway was there in East Germany, and we were really, really competitive. And to me, you know, I just remember that feeling. It's like, oh my gosh, you know, we're almost there, you know, we're almost there. And then also, you know, for me, the, you know, 88 Olympics, opening ceremonies, to have my parents there, to actually have my parents, you know, come to the Olympics and just see that the joy in their face, and almost like a sign of, I want to say, relief, because they're like, oh my gosh, you know, we made the right decision to, you know, let Kim follow her dreams, because this is, you know, this is just amazing. And then, so it was just, and also, you know, the handball family, you know, there's nothing like this handball family. So just to, you know, have that, you know, from, you know, growing up and, you know, trying to, you know, use them as my role models, you know, emulate, you know, all of their positive attributes and things like that, you know, I think definitely helped molded me into the person I am today. So just, you know, a lot of things that, you know, I hang on to from my experience with the handball team.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I echo 100% what you're saying at the end, Kim. You know, I feel like my teammates, I have some incredible teammates who are brilliant and powerful women. And I honestly feel like they make me a better person. When I'm with my national team teammates, I feel like they bring out the best in me, and they push me to be a better athlete and a better human being. So I just having that handball family and that kind of support group is just, I mean, it's amazing. I think if I had to like pinpoint one moment in my career, it would definitely be at the 2019 Pan Am Games. And for me, it was extra special because when I first started out with the national team, they were getting ready for 2011 Pan Am Games. And I was on the team that's qualified, but I decided not to try out or to put my name in the, you know, in the hat, if you will, for the 2011 Pan Am Games, because I was still at Carolina. I didn't want to have to take off another semester of school. Anyways, so I didn't go. And then we didn't qualify in 2015. And that was heartbreaking because we had just spent, you know, 2 years in Auburn just building up to that. And then I moved overseas and I played for 4 years leading up to 2019 Pan Am Games. So this was, going to the Pan Am Games was a goal I'd been working for literally 10 years. And I remember like trying to explain that to my family and being like, hey, you know, you guys rarely get to see me play because it's very, very rare that the national team plays in the US. You know, we played a couple games in Auburn, but my parents didn't always get to come. And, you know, I was really trying to get them to buy that ticket to Peru. I know it's a lot of money, but you know, it's the Pan Am Games. And they kept telling me like, we can't swing it. It's too expensive. That's, you know, it's a far trip, blah, blah, blah. And so, you know, I'm pretty bummed because all my teammates are there with they're, you know, asking for tickets for the games for their parents or for their siblings and whatnot. I'm just sitting there, sad little orphan, and with my team. We roll up to the first game and I see all my teammates like right before I was like, look, Julia, look. And I turn and my mom and my grandma and two of my aunts had flown all the way down to Peru without telling me with these like awesome shirts with an American flag on the front and Team Julia on the back with my number and holding their signs and screaming and waving. It was amazing. It was such a fun surprise and such like a bonding experience, you know, women supporting women, and just such an honor to be able to play in front of my family, with such a big event. So that was an amazing moment that I got to share with them.
That's absolutely incredible. Yeah, that makes me smile so big because I think that's just amazing. I mean, both of you put in so many hours and like you said, Joy, a full decade of working towards that. So the fact that your family was able to be there for that moment is just so special. Um, I wanted to talk about also, looking ahead to the future of the women's national team and just handball in general. We've got some exciting stuff coming up in the US for handball. Obviously, the LA 2028 Olympics are going to be that sort of really big opportunity for USA Team Handball to hopefully make a splash and show the world that there's a lot of potential here for the sport itself. So yeah, I would love to hear, Kim, first, if you're able to speak on it. How does it make you feel to know that the Olympics are coming back to the US in 7 years?
I'm excited about it. Maybe get to watch some, high level of handball because, hopefully, I'll be there, be able to plan to go. So I'm looking forward to that. And for the U.S. Handball, here's an opportunity to compete in the Olympics and actually to have something, to get sponsorship with and support because, unfortunately people do jump on the bandwagon, when they know you're going to be qualified for the Olympics. So, here's a, opportunity that, we can really use to our advantage to, again, showcase the sport and, to hopefully, do great things with that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just the visibility that it can give our sport is, would be huge. People usually discover handball, or Americans, I should say, usually discover handball at the Olympics. So having it in our home country would be awesome. And I think, if we could get a big push for grassroots development starting even now, I think back to like the 2012 Olympics. I was training in Denmark with a couple of the players from the UK Olympic team, and they were saying that hosting the Olympics in London allowed them to get a ton of support and investments to create a handball league there, which they'd never had before either. So just imagine the possibilities that could come for the sport and for the development of the sport, and just the awareness of it would be great.
Absolutely. Yeah. A league would be a game changer in the US. So fingers crossed that that is in our future. Julia, especially with your involvement outside of the national team, you're also really involved just in the handball community as a whole, being on the AAC and also now our newly formed DEI committee. I wanted to just hear some of your experiences so far and thoughts on just the state of things in general and the program in general. What makes you hopeful for the future and for the coming years that we have?
Yeah, so both of those initiatives actually are pretty recent. The Athlete Advisory Council was just formed last summer, and I think it's a great initiative, just in improving communication between the board and the NGB and athletes. And we're still constructing ourselves, if you will, but we have a couple projects that we'd like to take on that will just really puts the athletes at the center of our attention, making sure that our athletes are safe in the best possible conditions to compete and to win, of course, and that they're healthy and taken care of, and just looking out for the well-being of our athletes. So I'm really excited about some of the projects we have in the works for them. And with the DEI committee, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, I'm super excited about, we have a group, an amazing group of individuals that are super passionate about these issues. And, we were formed back in November, I believe, but, we're already hit the ground running with some different ideas and, currently working on an audit of the handball community, if you will, trying to, get statistics on the diversity of the community and where we fall short, and what our goals should be and what we should be working on and whatnot. And I would love to see more inclusion and more diversity within our national team as well. I think that can only bring positive things for us and for us as well, those of us who are already members of the national team, to do a weekend to be inclusive, because we talk a lot about in the committee, we can increase diversity, we can put equitable opportunities to allow certain people who are maybe underrepresented to be able to play handball, but if they don't feel welcome and included, then that they're not going to stay. So it's a challenge for us as well to make an inclusive atmosphere for other groups that are going to come in. So I'm super excited about it.
Excellent. I'm super excited about it as well. So thanks for being so involved and for being such a great ambassador. It really helps a lot. And hopefully I'm sure we'll bring a lot of momentum moving forward. So I have one final question for Kim, and then we'll start taking some questions from the audience. So if you're tuning in live on Facebook, you can comment any questions below. We've gotten a few just "Yay, Kim! Hi, Kim!" from Olympians like Derek Brown and Brad Nelson. So Kim, people are out there supporting you, the Handball family. But yeah, if you have additional questions, then feel free to comment them and I will try and get to them if we have time. So my final question, Kim, is if you could give any advice to people like Julia, women like Julia, who are trying to make it to the highest level of their sport, as in the Olympic Games, and really just reach that lifelong dream that we've all talked about as athletes have. What would be that advice that you would give to especially women and women in sports?
Well, starting with the, current national team, I'm a true believer of like the men's 1980 hockey team. If you're a strong, unified team, you can accomplish great things. And, you just have to have confidence in each other, believe in each other, and, beat each other up during practice, because that's, you can't be afraid to, be nice to each other during practice, but then you have to be able to flip the switch during, the games to cheer each other on. And, and that's kind of one unique thing about, being on, the national team, where you have a training squad of 20 and only, so many can make the Olympic team, but, you're only as strong as the, last person you would say on the bench. So, come game time, you all have to support each other, cheer each other. And like I said, with that strong unity, I truly believe you can accomplish great things. But, it's just, like I said, your training and what you do is pretty much similar to what we did. And, it's just hard work and practice, and, there's no shortcuts. And to me, I'm more of a solutions person, so if, you get to a match and, the ball is flat and you go to the, referee, hey, I want to play with a different ball, and he says, sorry, you're playing with this. Well, you can't just focus on that. You got to, get your team together and say, hey, y'all, we're going to play with a flatter ball. We can't dribble it, as much. We have to pass more. So, you have to find the solution. Sometimes we just get so caught up on, there's dim lights or there's this or that. But, to me, there's always a solution. And, also with what Julia, you were saying about, video and being able to, break down not only your play, but also other teams, is very critical. There's just, so much more to grow and improve. But like I said, there's, just kind of the same thing, play as a team and support each other, and, you guys will, you'll have no regrets. So.
Excellent. Great advice. I really love that, and how applicable and practical it is as well. So thank you for that, Kim. Okay, we have a few questions. So I guess these will maybe be a bit more of short answer, rapid fire questions, but for both of you, someone wanted to know, who's your favorite handball player of all time and why?
I can't remember her last name, but she was the Swedish center backcourt, I want to say Mia Henderson. I just loved watching her play. She was just so smooth, and set shots, jump shots. She could, very strong leader for her team. So.
the Norwegian center back is amazing as well. I can't remember her name either. She's in Paris now, I believe, but same. She's amazing to watch. She's not super tall or anything, but just very powerful, very quick. Yeah, and I would say as well, if I'm allowed to say a team rather than a player, I would say the 2015 Brazil women's national team when they won the world championship. They're just, I mean, a team of just dynamite women who did not fit that like stereotypical profile of handball players, and they just like took the whole world by storm. They're amazing.
That is what we're hoping to do in 2020 and hopefully sooner in Paris 2024. We had a comment from Sandra De La Riva saying, thank you both for your amazing dedication and incredible passion for the sport. So just wanted to pass that along before we get into our next question, which is, do you have any advice on how I become a real handball athlete? Which I think is a great question, considering both of you were able to make it happen. So yeah, what are some practical tips for any Americans out there who are interested in following that same path?
Julia, I'll let you go.
If you're an American-based player, I would say get connected with the closest club that you can find. You know, there aren't a ton, but if there is possible to get in contact with a club, even if it's a couple hours away, even just for a tournament, you know, they're before COVID and hopefully after COVID, there are club tournaments about once a month somewhere along the East Coast or the West Coast. And a lot of clubs will be willing to let you come on and play with them, even if you don't have experience. And then I would say get on YouTube, check out some drills, some things that you can do kind of on your own. Order handball. I'm pretty sure we sell handballs on the USA website. Yep, we sell handballs. Order handballs.
Bolton, yes.
And just start, you know, getting acquainted with the feel of the ball and just imitating things that you see. Watch games as well where possible to learn the tactics of the sport, especially for American athletes. That's the hardest part for us to integrate is, you know, the tactical aspects of the sport. So yeah, it's tough as a player stateside to be able to really get into handball, but those would be good first steps for sure.
Yeah, no, I think Julia, yeah, you stated that all very well. Because, you know, it's when I'm just on Facebook, I guess I have handball feeds coming into my Facebook, and I'm just amazed at all the clips that I can see and all, I don't know, some of the drills that come through. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so great for, you know, the current athlete of, you know, of even like shoulder rehab or just, and it's handball specific. There's just so much out there, you know, on the internet. I'm just like overwhelmed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great point. Yeah, thank goodness for technology. Obviously, it's making things a bit easier now for us to learn the game and not just rely on, you know, coaching and whatnot. So that's excellent advice. Someone also asked, what would you say is the biggest thing to focus on if you're trying out for the women's team? So kind of ties into what we were just talking about, but maybe I guess a bit more of certain athletic skills or techniques. Yeah, Julia, I guess I'll ask you first if you have any advice for that.
That's a great question. I think a lot of it depends on if you are a player who's been playing your whole life, you know, in Europe, for example, or South America, and already have the handball fundamentals down. In which case, I would say get in the best possible shape that you can, because the tryouts can be just as hard and as brutal as our practices can be. So get in shape, lift, run. For an American-based player who maybe has less handball experience, you know, I would say try again. The same answer as before. You know, try and find opportunities to practice if possible, and even if it's just with a friend and doing passes. Yeah, really trying to hone those technical skills. Trying to think. Any ideas, Kim?
Yeah, I would just say, you know, just like, yeah, throwing and catching, and, you know, because, you know, just your shoulder strength and just getting your arm in shape for, you know, that opportunity where you might be playing or practicing or joining a club team, you could say, or but yeah, if you can get that throwing motion down and be able to get the feel of the ball, then you're probably one step ahead of some other people. And also I just say that footwork, those 3 steps. So if you can get down the 3 steps and a throwing motion, I think you're on your way.
Yeah.
Great advice. Yeah. We have a question from our very own head coach of the women's beach team, Lisa Dunn, who is asking, what is a piece of advice you would give the future 2028 team as you reflect on your own team's preparation and growth going into the highest level of competition? Great question, Lisa.
Yeah, and I kind of touched upon this when I was talking earlier, is in regards to the practices. You have to push each other. You can't be each other's friend and not try to push each other in practice. I think that was one thing one thing eye-opening when I first joined the team. We'd beat, like I said, the crap out of each other at practice, but afterwards would be like, hey, let's go catch a burger or get a burger or something like that, where it's you don't take anything personal during the practices. You want to try and push each other because we don't have a lot of games against other opponents that we can play. So unfortunately, we're the punching bag for each other. And you really have to be able to take that, and then, as I said, be able to then flip the switch when you're during the game, and be very supportive of one another, because you're no longer you would say the punching bag or the opponent during the practice. You're a teammate. So it's kind of, to me, that mentality that is important, and it might be a little bit different than when you play maybe on a college basketball team or high school team or something like that, where you may not want to push each other as hard. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, that's a great point, because I think Kim put it perfectly. If we can beat each other up on the court during practice and push each other to be better in practice, it's only going to make us that much better for the game time. And I guess to add on to that, I would say to always go for that extra inch or that extra rep. I think a lot about conditioning drills and weightlifting, because it's primarily what I'm doing now in lockdown. But when you feel that you are at the end of your rope and you are exhausted and you can't go any further, get back on the line or get back under the bar, do that extra rep, run that extra sprint, or even on the court, you're exhausted from running 2 days for weeks on end and whatnot, and get your mind right, get yourself mentally, because your mind is so much stronger than your body, and it will push your body that extra step if you ask it to. When you are competing for spots on the Olympic team, there are so many athletes who are gifted, who are strong technically and physically, and the same when you're competing against other Olympic teams. These are the best in the sport. So what can you do to distinguish yourself from the others and to stand out in the crowd and to beat the competition?
Yes, very well put. I feel very motivated right now. I'm gonna have to go outside and do some running after this, Julia. That was,
instead of running 3 miles, you'll have to run 4 today, huh?
Exactly. That was excellent. Yeah, both of you put it very well. Well, awesome. This has been an incredible conversation, and I'm really grateful that I was able to, learn more from both of you today. And again, really just grateful that you're both part of our community and such great ambassadors for a sport. Seeing that it is Women's History Month, I'd be remiss not to touch on that a bit more. So I was also curious, question from me personally. Do you have any favorite moments in history that specifically pertains to women's accomplishments, whether it's in sports or outside of it? What do you have, if any, a favorite women's history moment? And I can let you do some thinking on that. Quite a few options to choose from there. So.
No, Definitely. As I said, I mean, my women's history would be my handball teammates, because they were, a little bit older than me, and they paved the way, and also for handball. Some of the players I got to play with, like Rita Clanton and Mary Phil, and you know they kind of were the leaders back then of making sure that we had a women's national team, that we were competitive, that we're able to compete. And so to me, I look at them as, my role models who, so that's kind of my women in history moment.
I love it.
That was beautiful. My teammates are going to be upset if I don't say them now. All right, my teammates, I guess. No, but I do actually agree with you 100%, Kim. As I said earlier, that the women that I've gotten to play with over the 10-year career that I've had, they are honestly inspiring, and they're the type of women that I strive to be like, and to emulate in my own life. I would also say a person who I admire enormously. It's not necessarily a moment, but I am a huge Serena Williams fan. I think that she is just an amazing athlete and woman. She's obviously an incredible and elite athlete who's had an illustrious career, but for her to face, racism and sexism in her sport, and comments about her physique and her body, and what she wore, and then being pregnant and then coming back onto the court afterwards, and just there are just so many things that she does that are just inspiring, and for me, watching her as a non-tennis player, but as an athlete and a woman, she's just so inspiring to me, and just an image of strength and grace under fire, and just what we as women can do.
Great answer. Yeah, Serena, I'm a huge fan of Serena as well, and couldn't be more correct in your statement of just how much she's had to go through and endure, but she's been incredibly graceful through it all. So I definitely agree with that answer, Julia. I think that is the majority of the questions that we had. Julia, we did have one from one of your former teammates, Stacy Self, who I'm assuming this is an inside joke, but she wanted to know, what is your favorite farm animal?
The answer to that is a baby goat, and it is because in a tournament many, many years ago in Guadeloupe, a French island, we got to witness the birth of 2 baby goats, because we were being put up in a tiny little vacation house in the middle of a farm, and that was our wake-up call one day, is the birth of 2 baby goats.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sure, Kim, were there any baby goat birthings during your time?
Not that I can remember.
You missed out.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. I'm curious, actually, as a follow-up to that, what was both of your favorite country/places that you got to compete in or travel to as a member of the handball team?
The Scandinavian countries, I loved. I mean, I can go on. I love like going to Hungary, because Hungary, like I felt, you could feel what old Europe was like. You could really, go there and just get a sense of, what it was like, just to kind of live maybe kind of on the Eastern Bloc, but it wasn't so bad. So Hungary, and then even we were able to travel to Russia, and go to the Red Square area, and I think that was for the '86 Goodwill Games. So I mean, I could just go on and on. There are just so many favorite places, and just the opportunity and travel that I've been able to do. It's just been very, very fortunate to have been able to see the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of my favorite places would be Korea, actually. Busan, South Korea. We have gone there twice, actually. There's a professional club that has a professional women's club that has a bigger budget than I think USA Team Handball has had in my entire 10 years combined. And they were able to get a sponsor to pay for our way to Korea. They hosted this amazing tournament with the Senegalese national team, Australian national team, one of the top European clubs, their professional team, which is made up of a couple Korean Olympians. And it's just, I mean, I think part of it was just my first time in Asia and being in a country that seems so exotic to me. And so, you know, you walk outside and it's just so technologically advanced and lights everywhere and great sushi and just, I mean, they put us up in an amazing hotel and just, I mean, it was just the 5-star treatment, you know? So it's one of my favorite places we've gone to.
That sounds absolutely incredible. You're making me also want sushi for later dinner tonight. So thank you for that. This has been really, really such a highlight for me to just talk to both of you. Like I said earlier, just really eloquent answers and incredible experiences talking about the challenges that you've overcome in these last few decades. And it's really, really special for me to have this conversation with just two awesome women. So thank you for this. Cindy Singer also commented something similar. She said, thanks for bringing two amazing and inspiring women to share their personal experiences. Thanks everyone for your resilience and strength and continued support of Team Handball. So with that, I think I'll give each of you a chance to do a little bit of a sign-off message. Any final words in light of our conversation or Women's History Month as a whole, or USA Team Handball. Would love just a sign-off message from each of you before we close things out for the day.
Melissa, I just want to thank you very much for everything you've done. I mean, ever since you've come on board, it's amazing things like this are going on. And then just the communication of having, bringing in the, Olympians to some of the meetings with the new CEO and, even the past CEO. So, thank you. I think, finally it, just feels like, we're the family is getting, the handball family is getting, tighter again, where there was a little gap. And now thanks for bringing us all together and being able to meet Julia, the best of luck, I'll be cheering for you. And, hopefully, there after COVID and we get released, there'll be some more, national games and, even close to Atlanta. So that would be great. So, but, just want to say good luck to both of you and looking forward to staying in touch. And hello to everyone else out there. Miss you all.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kim. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I will echo what Kim said. Thank you, Melissa, for all of your hard work, for putting this together, for connecting us. This has been very fun and exciting. Thank you, Kim, for all of your wisdom from a handball great. Great, just chatting with you and getting to, know you and hear about your experiences. I can't wait for us to finally get COVID figured out and to be back on the court. So to all my teammates, can't wait to see you all again. Thank you to all of our supporters. And I hope that we'll be back on the court very, very soon.
Excellent. Couldn't have put it any better myself. Again, two phenomenal women in our community. So thank you both for the time today. This will be on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page as just evergreen content. So I hope people come back and watch it because I think they could really learn a lot from everything that both of you said today. So thank you again. I hope everyone out there stays healthy. And with that, we'll sign off for the day. So thank you again.
Bye, thanks.